Hello, and welcome to Revamped by Renee. I am Renee, of course. This is my first of many projects to come, and I hope you enjoy this one as much as I did creating it. So I am bringing you the perfect patriotic project for our upcoming holiday. Now let's revamp these Target dollar spot stars that I picked up. Okay, so we are working with 3 wooden stars that I found at the dollar spot section at Target. Don't worry if you can't find these. Down below in the description, I will be linking all the items that I use in this video, as well as any alternatives. Okay, moving forward, I am leaving the white star as is. Since it's already finished, it's good to go. I will just be working with the other 2 unfinished stars. Now, if you're not wanting that distressed look from that white star, please paint over it and match your desired style. With the first star, I had to mix up this deep royal blue to paint the edges since I didn't have the exact color I needed, and you'll see why in just a second. So I used Craftsmart acrylic paint in dark blue and Folk Art chalk paint in rich black. I went ahead and mixed the 2 together to create the perfect patriotic shade. Then I found an old magazine in this deep blue gingham rug on one of the pages. Now I'm sure you have a magazine or 2 lying around that you can shuffle through and find the perfect image. I would recommend checking that your paint color is as close of a match as it can be. This process was surprisingly exciting and relaxing to search for an image that would work for this project. Go ahead and rip out your page, trace your star, and cut it out. I did use a pencil just in case any trace lines were exposed. I could easily erase them. After my star was cut out, I did do a quick dry fit on the wooden star. Now let's paint our edges. I do want to sand them down if there are any rough edges. These stars weren't too bad, but sanding it gave me a smoother surface to paint on. Now we are going to go ahead and paint all around the star on the edges. And do not worry if you get paint on the top surface of that star, because if you remember, we have a cutout of a star that we are going to be Mod Podging right on the top of that. So if you have any bleed over, it will be covered. So no worries, don't stress about it. It'll be good to go. I am drying my edges with my heat tool all the way around. Now this is where the star is completed. We are going to Mod Podge our magazine clipping on top of that star. I am using the matte Mod Podge. Now if you want a glossy top surface, and you like that finish a little bit more, then of course, please go ahead and use the glossy finished Mod Podge. I just want a little bit more of a flat matte look, so I am going with the matte Mod Podge. Go ahead and make sure when you are Mod Podging to get the surface on top and place it. You want to hit those edges very well. You also want to be conscious of how much Mod Podge you are using on the surface before adhering. For the adhering part of it, you want to use a little bit less. This is going to guarantee that you don't get too much bubbling underneath, but you do want to make sure and hit those edges really well because we don't want any of that magazine clipping or any type of surface that you use or material to curl up or start to peel away from the surface. Now, as you can see, I did have to go ahead and realign the magazine clipping because it wasn't quite fitted perfectly. So with Mod Podge, you can go ahead and do that. Just be conscious of doing it too much. You do not want your paper to start to curl and get wilted to where you cannot lay it back down and lay it smooth. Okay, I'm going to take that sanding block again, and we are just going to sand away any excess magazine clipping. And of course, I did get the fit of it pretty well because we did go ahead and trace it and cut it out. So it doesn't really have a lot of excess, but I did want to hit those edges a little bit more because I wanted a little distressing on the edge of the magazine clipping. So go ahead. I like to do a top to bottom type of process. So I take it from the top of the edge and work my sander on the way down, as you can see. And then I just take it side to side and get the excess pieces off. Okay, let's jump into our second star here. We are gonna go ahead and sand the edges just as we did on that first navy blue one. I am using Craft Smart acrylic paint in bright red. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some painter's tape and we are going to create some lines. Now there is no magic measurements or rhyme or reason to how I create this. I just went with the look that I wanted to go with, that I thought would look great for these stars. And I just started applying my strips of tape where I believed that they would look the best. So I'm taking a smaller strip of the tape and I'm going ahead and adhering it to the very tippy top point of that star. And you want to make sure to wrap the edges really well if you can, and then go ahead and press down where that bottom edge of the tape is. So you're kind of wanting to close off so that no paint can seep in on each of the edges. And then this one I just did kind of a sliver line. Like I mentioned, I really didn't have any rhyme or reason to how I did my lines. I just did them in a very random type of style and it turned out great. When you are doing any type of lines or stenciling, you do want to make sure that you have less, kind of do the concept of less is more with the paint. So I did go ahead and grab just a little bit. Now, I would recommend using a stencil brush when it comes to filling in lines or doing stenciling. I wasn't too concerned with that. I did go ahead and just take a normal bristle brush that was a bit thinner, and I did just go ahead and brush in strokes, a sweeping motion, back and forth in between the tape. I'm going ahead and giving them a quick hit of the heat tool. And I'm taking off the tape, and as you can see, everything came off very well, and I got a nice crisp line. Okay, so now you can see the pattern that I went for, and I absolutely love this pattern. I wanted to leave a little bit of the bottom more open as I got towards the end. So at the top, it was kind of busy, and it had thin lines, medium lines, larger lines, thin again. And then at the very bottom, I thought it was so, so cute to have the two little legs with kind of a thicker line to round out these stars and pull it all together. I would say that the taping and the painting was probably the most cathartic part of this process, as it is, because when you go ahead and paint those lines in and then you get that nice crisp finished line, there's nothing like it. Now we're going to go ahead and paint those edges. I did go ahead and try to do this freehand, thinking that I could maybe get away with not hitting the top part of the star. Didn't work out very well. So I would suggest, unless you have a very steady hand, just tape off each section as you go on the top part of that star and then paint it and then peel it back just as we did with the lines. And mine worked out perfectly. I didn't have any bleed over and it turned out nice and crisp. I also wanted to point out when I did do my lines, if you can see, there's a couple little spots of on top of the wood that did peel up, and that was from the painter's tape. But you know what? I actually really liked it. So I was not mad at it. I totally loved it. I thought it added to the distress look and it really gave it more of like a farmhouse feel. All right, so we are all done here. And now you have these beautiful patriotic shelf sitter stars that you can put on a tiered tray as I did. I also styled them in a tobacco basket as well. But what's great about these is that they sit on their own. They're thick enough to sit on their own. And that was what drew me to them. And I knew I wanted to recreate them. Thank you for joining me. I cannot wait to build a community with you all. I would love to see you back here again next week for more crafting revamps. So please hit that subscribe button below so you don't miss a beat. While you're at it, if you would click that thumbs up button, that will help me bring more content your way. Plus, you can find more content on my Facebook page as well, Revamped by Renee, linked below. See you guys soon.